Screening side. Face the phone. For people on this side, with the right hand, people on this side, left, leave the back up.
Shamayim va'aretz, Ezri me'im Adonai, Ose Shamayim va'aretz, Al yitein lamod raglecha, Ayanum shomrecha, hine lo yanum velo yishan, shomer Yisrael, Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yeminecha, Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yeminecha, Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka, Ve'yareach balayla, Adonai yishmorcha mikora, Yishmor et nafshecha, Adonai yishmor tzedcha uvoecha, me'ata ve'ad olam, Adonai yishmor tzedcha uvoecha, me'ata ve'ad olam. Al mekomo yavo v'shalom. It is our custom in Jewish tradition to begin with a psalm. Psalm 121. It's called Shir LaMa'alot, a song for those who ascend. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. You see, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your protection, your guardian at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. God will guard your going and coming, now and forever. May Fred Glass go unto God in peace. Hatzur tamim paulo ki chod rachab mishpat el emunah ve'inav el tzadik v'yashar hu tzadik atah Adonai lamidu lahachayot asher biyadcha pigadon kol ruchot chalila lecha zichronenu limchot v'yihiyu na'einecha berachamim aleinu v'kuchot ki lecha Adon harachamim v'haslichot Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach hi shem Adonai mevorach והוא רחום יכפר עוון ולא ישחית, והרבה להשיב אפו ולא יאיר כל חמתו, וישוב העפר על הארץ שהיה, והרוח תשוב אל האלוהים אשר נתנה. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. May our beloved soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal. And may God, Adonai, send comfort to those who mourn and grant strength to those whose burden is sorrow. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you to those of you who could not be here with us in the cemetery but have tuned in to the broadcast of the service. For all of you, we thank you for joining your hearts together with those of Freddie's family to bring them comfort and strength during what is easily the most terrible and difficult time in their lives. We are here today to honor Frederick Glass. Fred. Ephraim Yosef ben Matityahu Vedina, the son of Diane and Matthew Glass, brother of Michelle, brother-in-law of Ronnie, uncle to Miri, Gabby, and Solly, partner to Angelina, beloved friend. Fred passed away last Sunday, the 7th day in the Hebrew month of Tishrei. He was 46 years old. We know, though we don't think about it very often in our lives, that we are all destined to die. It is something we share with all who live or who have ever lived. We've heard before many times the lines quoted from Ecclesiastes, there is a time for everything under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to laugh and a time to cry. But what we are here today to do, to say goodbye to Fred, feels very unfair and just wrong. Because while we all are destined to die, not like this and not so young. This family, this group of friends, our community has been rocked by a tragedy. Our questions of why will never be answered. The uncertainty, the pain, these are the things we feel today. It's an honor for me to be here, to be with all of you. And I want to thank all of you again for being here, for the messages you have sent to Fred's family, for the messages you will continue to send. Long ago, I learned a very meaningful line. Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. These feelings of uncertainty and tragedy and pain that we feel today collectively and individually, they are all expressions of love. Love for Fred, love for his family. And so in our service today, we're not going to focus on the end, we're going to focus on the whole. I didn't know Fred Glass. We never met. But I've had the honor of spending time with his family recently. I've listened to their stories about him. We've laughed and we've cried together. And now I'm in a position where I'm able to eulogize Fred and to share what I've learned from them. The impression they've given me of a very special person. Someone I wish I had met. Someone I wish I had traveled with. Someone who has been taken from us far too soon. Fred Glass was a character. He always stood out. At Rabah Hebrew School as a young boy, he acted out and made it clear that school wasn't really for him. He was more of an anti-establishment kind of person, an anti-authority kind of person, which made him challenging for most of his teachers who didn't know what to do with him, and even sometimes for his parents. But it must be noted that while he may have been challenging for Matthew and Diane, he was always very much a loving son. From a young age, it was clear Fred was in pursuit of fun, excitement, and adventure, even if it got him into trouble. His older sister, Michelle, remembered how he always wanted to hang out with her and her friends. He always wanted to be the first to try new things. He always wanted to take chances. He was a fearless risk taker. Even if he, and quite often he did, got caught. But it was always in the pursuit of fun, of good times. To know him through his family is to see him in one perspective, through one lens, in one light. But to know Fred, or Freddie as he was often called, through his friends, was to see him in a very different way. His friends will tell you that he was their rock. He was very trusting of others, almost to a fault, always gave people the benefit of the doubt. Practical, kind-hearted, patient and generous. He always tried to take care of everyone in his life. And his friends relied on him. When they had problems, when they had issues, they turned to Fred. And they knew that he would hop on a plane and fly anywhere if a friend needed him. He was truly loyal, steadfast, and dependable. The hallmarks of a great friend. With his friends, it should be noted, he always talked about his family. And his friends could tell you that they knew how much he loved his parents, his sister, brother-in-law, nieces, and nephew. When he was young, that was when Fred's passion for cars began. He started playing with Hot Wheels, which he has now passed on to his nephew Solly. But that was just the beginning. Years later, that passion and his penchant for self-education and for research on the internet led him to become incredibly savvy and handy with cars. He even turned it into a business, a career. He could single-handedly take cars apart, fix them from the bottom up, resell them. He was even recently chastising his mom, who had had some work done on her car that he claimed he could have done for a fraction of the cost. With many things, like with cars, he was hands-on, he was talented. He worked hard, he was determined. He was quite impressive. His other passions in life included a fascination, almost an obsession with health and nutrition that he started when he was about 18 years old. He got into bodybuilding quite heavily and was always a fixture at his local gym or the gyms he found when he was traveling. Always arguing with people about what he should be eating, what he shouldn't be eating. And his family, remember when he was young, middle of the night, he'd always be cooking food while everyone was trying to sleep and eating chicken breast, it seemed, all the time at the dining room table. As we've mentioned with his friends, but it extended to people he'd meet for just the first time, Fred was a people person, good with people. He was a natural leader people were drawn to. He had a magnetic, charismatic quality. People gravitated to him. He was friendly, he was likable. People enjoyed spending time around him. This can be seen in some of his exploits traveling the world. Fred loved to travel the world and never hesitated to take off on a trip, even if it meant traveling by himself. He was the kind of unique person who could travel far distances, long periods of time alone, but by the end of it seemed even the first day, he'd had met 10 new friends that he would continue traveling with. He always had a blast on his trips, always again in the pursuit of fun. And he would regale people with stories of his visits across Europe, to China, India, riding donkeys up the hills and the Himalayas, just to name a few. In his early 20s, trying to escape the harsh winters, and perhaps looking for a fresh start, Fred moved out west to Vancouver, where he's lived ever since, quite happily, quite contentedly. He would always make time to visit his family, maybe not so much in Winnipeg in the winter, but certainly in Mexico, where they would vacation, always finding time to meet his parents in Puerto Vallarta. Something that has stayed with me over the last few days since I met with Fred's family was something that his brother-in-law, Ronnie, said. That Fred was in all situations, anywhere, anytime, with all people, unembarrassedly himself. Genuine, authentic, unique. How many of us can say this about ourselves? It's something to admire, something to aspire to, something to be inspired by. In my generation and some of the people I've hung out with, we would call somebody like Fred Glass, we would call him a beauty. He was a good time all the time. But the lasting thought for me, before I read words from Angelina and from her sister Alicia, people who knew Fred intimately and deeply, the lasting impression that was made on me that I would like to share with all of you again came from his brother-in-law Ronnie. That in 46 years, Fred packed more fun, more energy, more good times into his life than many pack in an entire lifetime. 80, 90 years. It should make us re-examine our choices, our pursuit of fun, and the things that we want to accomplish in our lives before our time runs out. Fred has left his family and his friends far too soon. He has been taken away. But the things he did in his life, the stories we will continue to tell, the memories he made and many people get to share, they will live on. And they will make us better. I'd now like to read two things that were sent to me. First, Angelina. From Angelina, Fred's girlfriend, his partner. This is what she has said. I can hardly believe it's been almost 9 years since Frederick and I met. It felt like yesterday when I think back to the first time we saw each other. He was sitting across the room and I was captivated by his smile and the twinkle in his eyes. We had an instant connection. Fred was a very kind, caring, and compassionate man. You could feel the warmth of his soul as soon as he stepped into the room. Some of his best traits were that he always chose to see the best in people. And he constantly went out of his way to help family and friends because being there for people he cared about was important to him. Fred loved his family dearly. He would often talk about childhood memories, and he looked forward to his annual family trips to Mexico. He admired his family, and he was extremely proud of them. Fred believed in self-education and spent his leisure time researching on the internet or watching documentaries. He loved to share information with his friends that was relevant to improving their lives. Fred was a great conversationalist and extremely knowledgeable in all subjects in life. He really enjoyed engaging in deep conversations. Our friends often referred to him as a human dictionary and would call him for advice. Fred was an entrepreneur at heart and was always on the lookout for new business and investment opportunities. Fred was extremely charismatic and optimistic. Regardless of the ups and downs he experienced throughout life, he never stopped smiling, caring, or giving. Fred and I have had the opportunity of traveling the world together, celebrating holidays and birthdays with one another, and creating a life together. I'm grateful for the moments we have shared that have now left me with memories I will cherish forever. Fred, you were more than just my partner over the years. You were my best friend, a respected member of my family, and a father to our beloved dog Mango. Although you have left us too soon, I will never stop loving you, and I will always feel your absence in my heart. You were deeply loved and admired in life, and now that you are gone, you will be greatly missed by many. May peace be upon you. With love, Angelina. Thank you, Angelina. I'd also like to read something from Angelina's sister, Alicia. She begins by saying, on behalf of our family, I wish to express my deepest, heartfelt condolences to the Glass family. I am certain everyone here has been touched by Frederick's amazing spirit, and we are grateful that we can come together to pay our collective respects to this wonderful man. Fred was truly one of a kind and is loved by so many. When I think of Fred, I see his infectious smile and his presence that would light up the room. He instantly put everyone in a good mood. His laughter can still be heard and will always be remembered. Fred was respectable and always a pleasure to be around. He had a gentleness that you so rarely find, and he saw the best in everything and everyone. He had a big heart and was patient, kind, and generous towards others. He was always willing to lend a helping hand or just be an ear to listen and offer his advice or share helpful tips. I learned so much from him. He genuinely cared for the people in his life and was a compassionate human being. Frederick was a loving and supportive partner to my sister and was respected and loved by my mother and me very much. Fred, you were one of the good guys, and you will be missed dearly. Thank you for all you have given us. You were like a brother to me, and it has been a real honor and blessing to have known you and to have had the pleasure to have you a part of our family from the time that we did. It brings us deep sorrow and grief that your time here with us could not be longer. But we will always be forever grateful and cherish all the great and fun memories of you in our hearts. May peace be upon you. Grief is the last act of love we can give to those we loved. Where there is deep grief, there was great love. Thank you, Alicia. In Fred's honor, I will now chant the El Malei Rachamim prayer, the traditional Jewish memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein B'Meromin, Hametzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina B'malor Kedoshim Uteorim Kezohar Arakia Mazhirim Et Nishmat Ephraim Yosef, Ben Matidyahu V'Dina, Shalach Leolamo, Vigan, Dente Menuchato, Anabal Harachamim, Hastireu Beseter Kenafecha Leolamim, Utzro Bitzro Rachaim Enishmato, Adonai Hu Nachalato, V'yanuach V'shalom, Hamishkavo, V'nomar, Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Frederick Glass, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that he find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. I thank you again to all of you for being here, and I thank you again to all of you who have tuned in. As I mentioned before, the messages you send to Fred's family are so welcome, so appreciated. Texts, phone calls, Facebook messages, however you can communicate and share your love, give them strength, and remember and honor Fred. Please continue to do that. The family has requested privacy, a private Shiva, but there will be a meal of consolation following this service at Michelle and Ronnie's home, 290 Montrose Street. 290 Montrose Street. All are welcome to go there after our service. And I want to thank the family again for the opportunity and the honor to be here today with all of you. In a moment, we will recite the words of the mourner's Kaddish, and then the family will lead us in the familiar tradition of shoveling earth into the grave to conclude our ceremony. Just a few words of explanation about this time-honored ritual. In Jewish tradition, we believe strongly our loved ones deserve to be buried by our own hands. The highest form of respect in our tradition is to accompany someone here to his final resting place. The greatest honor to say goodbye in this way. But just as our hands once held his hands, we use our hands, kind, knowing, sorrowful hands, to lay Fred to rest. Most people pour 3 shovelfuls of earth. Some people use the front of the shovel, some people use the back of the shovel. Some people will pass the shovel to the next person behind them, and some people will return the shovel to the earth as if reluctant to pass a burden to another person. These are all customs, and the custom with which you are familiar, the custom that resonates with you, this is how we find meaning in these rituals, so I encourage you to embrace the custom you know. The family will lead us, and everyone is invited to participate. We are aware that this is it can be a very painful, particularly today, a painful act, but we remind ourselves that it is an act born of love and compassion for someone who meant so much to many people. Earlier in the service, and again now, we offer the words of Job, the epitome of suffering in Jewish tradition. Adonai Natan v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. God, you have given. God, you have taken away. Blessed be the name of God. May the memory of Fred Glass be a blessing, as we mark that his essence will never leave our hearts and our souls. The Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabah mevorach le'alam ulamei amaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata benechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabah min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates peace and harmony on high bring peace and harmony to us, to all Israel, to all humanity. And again let us say, Amen. I offer one final prayer in conclusion. Eternal God, Master of mercy, give us the gift of remembering. May our memories of Fred be tender and true, undiminished by time. Let us recall him and love him as he was. Shelter us with the gift of tears. Let us express our feelings of loss, our sorrow, our pain, as well as our love, and even words we cannot speak. Bless us, God, with the gift of prayer. May we face you with an open heart, with trusting faith, unembarrassed and unashamed. And strengthen us with the gift of hope, that we may always believe in the beauty of life, the power of goodness, and our right to joy. We surrender our being and the soul of our loved one to your all-knowing compassion. Amen. I invite the family to come forward. And I want to thank everyone again so much for being here. Thank you.